Before we start, let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you did what felt right to you, but everyone around you told you that you were wrong? Where the line between setting boundaries and overreacting suddenly became very blurry? Because that's exactly the kind of story we're diving into today. Welcome back to Reddit Echoes, where real people share the moments that left them questioning everything. Let's get into today's story. Story 1. AITA for breaking up with my girlfriend after she pranked me by faking cheating. I honestly never thought I'd be telling this story because before this happened, I genuinely believed my relationship was solid. I'm a 26-year-old guy, and until recently, I was dating my girlfriend, she's 25, for a little over 2 years. We weren't perfect, but I trusted her, like really trusted her. I never once thought she'd do anything to intentionally hurt me. That's probably why this hit as hard as it did. A few days ago, I came home earlier than expected. As I walked toward the bedroom, I heard noises, laughing, movement, the kind of sounds that instantly make your stomach drop before your brain even catches up. I opened the door, and there they were. My girlfriend was on the bed in just her bra and underwear, straddling a close mutual friend of ours. He was half naked too, just boxers. They froze for a split second, then started acting like they'd been caught in the middle of something, moaning, whispering. The whole thing looked painfully real. I didn't think. I didn't ask questions. I felt like the floor disappeared under me. My chest was pounding, my ears were ringing, and all I could think was, this is real. This is actually happening to me. I yelled at them. I don't even remember exactly what I said. I just remember the feeling. Rage, humiliation, heartbreak, all at once. Then I turned around and walked out. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door because I couldn't stand to be in that house another second. That's when they ran after me, laughing, telling me to stop, saying, wait, it's just a prank. They showed me the phone, a hidden camera. The whole thing had been recorded. Apparently, the plan was to catch my reaction, then reveal it was fake and, I don't know, laugh about it. I just stood there staring at the screen, because even if they weren't actually cheating, what I just felt was real. The panic, the betrayal, the image of my girlfriend on top of another man in our bed. That didn't magically disappear just because someone said the word prank. What hurt even more was realizing how far they went to make it believable. They didn't just pretend, they undressed, they crossed physical boundaries. They decided that my trust and my emotions were acceptable collateral damage for a joke. I told her I was done, right there. No yelling, no dramatic speech. I just said I couldn't be with someone who thought that kind of thing was funny or acceptable. I couldn't unsee what I saw, and I couldn't unfeel what I felt. She broke down crying. She kept saying she didn't mean it, that it was supposed to be harmless, that everyone pranks their partners sometimes. Our friends backed her up almost immediately. They told me I massively overreacted, that I should have laughed it off, that it wasn't real cheating, so why was I acting like it was? But here's the thing that no one seemed to understand. Even if the prank is fake, the emotions it causes aren't. I still felt betrayed. I still felt humiliated. My trust was still shattered. And I didn't want to spend the rest of my relationship wondering what line would get crossed next in the name of just a joke. After I posted about it, things somehow got worse. My ex was furious about the backlash she received online and blamed me for making her look bad. I told her I didn't make her do anything. People were just reacting to what she chose to do. The mutual friend involved in the prank told me I went way too far. I told both of them to get lost and blocked their numbers. Some of our friends have started taking this more seriously after seeing other people's reactions. A few finally admitted that what she did was messed up. Others still think I should have just sucked it up and moved on. But honestly, I don't want to live in a world where I'm expected to be okay with seeing my partner half naked on another guy just because someone shouts prank afterwards. So now I'm sitting here second-guessing myself, wondering if I really did blow this out of proportion or if I was the only one taking my own boundaries seriously. So, am I the asshole for ending my relationship over this?
Story 2. AITA for uninviting my sister from my wedding because she demanded I change the colors for her. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I'm getting married to the love of my life in about 6 months. We've been planning this wedding for over a year now, and up until recently, everything was honestly going really smoothly. That is, until my sister got involved. My older sister, Sarah, is 32. Growing up, she was always very particular about how things looked. Aesthetics, image, appearances, those have always mattered a lot to her. She was also very used to getting her way. She was kind of the golden child in our family, and my parents rarely told her no. We're not especially close, but we're civil, and I genuinely wanted her to be part of my wedding, so I asked her to be a bridesmaid, and she agreed. My fiancé and I chose a color scheme we absolutely loved, dusty rose and sage green. It fit our outdoor garden venue perfectly. It felt soft, romantic, and very us. Once everything was locked in, I sent out a mood board to the bridal party so everyone could get a sense of the vibe. A few days later, Sarah called me, almost in tears. She told me the colors were horrendous, that they would completely wash her out. She has olive skin and dark hair, and apparently dusty rose and sage green were her worst nightmare. She said she couldn't believe I'd choose colors that made her look bad, and demanded that I change the entire wedding color scheme to something that would complement her better, like jewel tones. I honestly thought she was joking at first. When I realized she was serious, I explained that we had already put down deposits based on these colors: flowers, decor, linens, everything. Changing them wasn't just inconvenient, it was practically impossible. I also gently reminded her that the wedding wasn't about her, it was about me and my fiancé. That's when she completely lost it. She accused me of being selfish and inconsiderate. She said I was ruining her experience and told me that if I cared about family at all, I'd make this one simple change for her. Then she threatened not to come to the wedding if I didn't do what she wanted. After days of nonstop pressure, guilt-tripping, and messages about how I was tearing the family apart, something in me finally snapped. I told her that if the colors upset her that much, then maybe it would be better if she didn't come at all. And I meant it. I uninvited her from the wedding and removed her from the bridal party. The fallout was immediate. My parents were furious. They accused me of overreacting and called me a bridezilla. They said I was destroying our family over something as trivial as wedding colors. Some of my extended family took her side too, saying I should be more accommodating and that keeping the peace was more important than my vision. My fiancé, thankfully, supported me without hesitation. He reminded me that this day is about us, not about managing my sister's ego. Even so, I won't lie, it hurts. I feel guilty. I feel sad. I hate that something that was supposed to be joyful has turned into such a massive family conflict. Part of me wonders if I should have just swallowed my feelings and changed the colors to keep everyone happy. But another part of me can't ignore the fact that she was the one who made this a problem in the first place. She was willing to skip her own sister's wedding because the colors didn't suit her complexion. So now I'm stuck questioning myself. Did I go too far by uninviting her? Or was this the only way to set a boundary she's never respected before?
Story 3. AITA for refusing to travel after my wife booked yet another Disney vacation. My wife and I have been married for 13 years. We're both 39 now, and for most of our 20s and early 30s, money was tight. Travel wasn't really an option back then, so when things finally got better financially, we promised ourselves we'd start taking 1 or 2 trips a year. The problem is, every single one of those trips has been to Disney World. I'm not exaggerating. We've been there 9 times. Every vacation, every getaway, even our honeymoon. Same routine every time, Disney hotels, Mickey-shaped ice cream, mouse ears, photos in front of Cinderella's castle, then home. Rinse and repeat. I'll be honest, I never loved Disney to begin with. I hate crowds, I get overwhelmed easily, and standing in long lines all day actually makes my feet hurt. But I went anyway, over and over, because my wife, Jess, absolutely loves it. She knows how I feel. I've never hidden it. But she also doesn't really seem to understand travel outside of Disney. To her, that's what vacations are. We're planning a trip for April, and as usual, she casually said, "We can just go to Disney again." This time, I finally spoke up. I said Disney sounded fine, but maybe, just maybe, we could try something different. I suggested Hawaii, somewhere we could relax, go to the beach, sit at a spa, do something that didn't involve crowds and screaming kids. She looked genuinely confused and asked why we'd go to Hawaii if we could go to Disney instead. A few days later, she came to me and said she'd booked a hotel in Hawaii. I was actually excited. I thought maybe she'd really listen to me for once. But when she showed me the reservation, my stomach sank. She'd booked Aulani, the Disney resort in Hawaii. It was still Disney. Characters, merch, theming, everything, just with palm trees this time. I told her, as calmly as I could, that I was exhausted, that I didn't want another Disney experience. I wanted something that felt different. She got defensive immediately and said she was compromising, that I should appreciate the effort she'd made. I asked her one simple question. Would she be willing to consider anything that wasn't Disney? She said no. That's when I told her I wasn't going. She was furious. She canceled the reservation and told me she was going to find a friend to go to Disney World with instead, without me. And now I'm sitting here wondering if I handled this wrong. On one hand, I feel like I finally stood up for myself after 13 years of doing what she wanted. On the other hand, I can't ignore the fact that she's the one who always plans the trips. She books the flights, the hotels, everything. I've let her take control because she's organized and I'm not, and I guess part of that means I gave up my right to complain. Still, it hurts to feel like my idea of a vacation doesn't matter at all. So now I'm asking myself, was I wrong for refusing to go? Should I have just accepted the Disney compromise and kept the peace? Or was this the moment I finally needed to draw a line? Story 4. AITA for leaving a random kid with the police so I wouldn't miss my train. I was traveling back to the state where I work and had about 45 minutes before my train was scheduled to leave. I wasn't rushing, I was just sitting there, killing time, when a woman came up to me with a young kid, maybe 5 or 6 years old. She looked stressed, like really stressed. Before I could even process what was happening, she said, "Can you watch him for a minute? I have an emergency. I'll be right back." She shoved a piece of paper with her phone number into my hand and disappeared into the crowd. I didn't even get a chance to say yes or no. At first, I figured, okay, fine. I'm not going anywhere yet. What's a minute or two? But then 10 minutes passed, then 15, then 30. The kid started getting restless, then upset. He was asking where his mom was. I tried calling the number she gave me, no answer. I called again, voicemail, over and over. At this point, I was panicking. I don't know this kid. I don't know this woman. And there are announcements constantly playing about not leaving with children who aren't yours. My train time was getting closer and the kids started crying. When the warning whistle for boarding went off, my heart dropped. I realized I was about to miss my train because a complete stranger had handed me her child and vanished. I didn't know what else to do. I grabbed my bags, took the kid to the police checkpoint and explained everything. I gave them the number, told them how long I'd been waiting, and stayed just long enough to make sure the kid was with them. Then I ran. I barely made it onto the train. A minute later, we were moving. About 10 minutes into the trip, my phone rang. It was her. She was screaming at me, accusing me of kidnapping her child, telling me she was going to call the police and file a report. I told her I'd called her multiple times and she never answered. I told her kid was at the police at the station and that she could go talk to them. Then, honestly, I lost my temper. I told her she was a terrible mother and hung up. I feel awful for the kid, I really do. But I also feel like I was put into an impossible situation. I didn't agree to watch her child for almost an hour. I didn't abandon him somewhere unsafe. I left him with authorities whose literal job is to handle situations like that. Some people have suggested this might have even been a scam, that she was hoping I would panic, take the kid with me, and then accuse me of kidnapping for money. I don't know if that's true. It might just be shockingly bad parenting. Either way, I'm still stuck thinking about it. Did I do the right thing by leaving the kid with the police so I wouldn't miss my train? Or am I the asshole for walking away at all?
Story 5. AITA for kicking my brother and his wife out after they demanded I change my baby's name. I'm a 32-year-old woman, and my husband and I just welcomed our first child, a beautiful little girl. We named her Lena. That name wasn't chosen lightly. Lena was my mother's name. She passed away a few years ago, and losing her was one of the hardest things I've ever been through. Naming my daughter after her felt meaningful. It felt healing. It felt right. A few days after we brought our daughter home, my older brother and his wife came over to meet the baby for the first time. I was exhausted, emotional, still recovering, but also happy and proud. I thought it would be a nice moment. As soon as we told them her name, my sister-in-law's face completely changed. She went quiet. Then she said, "Wait, Lena?" I smiled and said yes. She immediately told us that Lena was the name she had always planned to use for her future daughter. They don't even have kids yet. She said she'd had that name picked out for years and couldn't believe we would use it. At first, I genuinely thought she was joking, but she wasn't. She kept going. She said we were selfish, that we stole her dream baby name, that we ruined it for her. My brother backed her up and said they had basically called dibs on the name years ago, so maybe we should consider changing it. That's when I snapped. I reminded them that this name honored my late mother, that this wasn't some trendy name I grabbed off a baby list. This was my mom. This was personal. This was deeply emotional. They didn't care. They kept insisting we change it. They said it would be the fair thing to do, that I was overreacting, that I was being dramatic. Standing there, holding my newborn daughter, listening to someone tell me I needed to rename her because they might want to use the name someday, something in me broke. I told them they were being ridiculous and incredibly disrespectful. When they still wouldn't drop it, I told them to leave my house, so they did. Now they're telling our family that I'm heartless, that I stole their dream name, that I overreacted by kicking them out instead of calmly discussing it. Some family members are acting like I should apologize just to keep the peace, like I should understand where they're coming from. But I don't. I don't understand how you can call dibs on a name when there's already a baby in a crib with that name. I don't understand how honoring my own mother somehow makes me the villain. I was vulnerable, I was postpartum, and instead of celebrating my child, they tried to make it about themselves. So now I'm questioning myself. Was I too harsh for kicking them out? Should I have handled it differently? Or was I right to protect my boundary and my daughter in that moment? Story 6. AITA for refusing to give up my window seat on a plane to a kid having a tantrum. I was on a domestic flight and, like I always do, I booked a window seat in advance. I pay extra for it every time because looking out the window is honestly the only thing I enjoy about flying. It helps calm my nerves, especially on longer flights. After I settled in, a family boarded. A mom, a dad, and their daughter who looked about 6 years old. The dad had an aisle seat, the mom was in the middle, and the kid was supposed to sit in the other aisle seat across from me. Everything was fine until the little girl realized she wasn't sitting by the window. She immediately started complaining, then whining, then full-on yelling, repeating over and over that she wanted my seat. Her parents tried to calm her down at first, but it escalated fast into a proper tantrum, crying, shouting, the whole thing. A few moments later, the dad leaned over and asked if I'd mind switching seats with her. He said she was just a kid and that it would be a nice thing to do. I politely told him no. I explained that I'd booked the window seat ahead of time because it was important to me. He pushed back and said it wouldn't hurt to switch, that I could sit anywhere, but his daughter was clearly upset. I told him I understood how frustrating it must be, but I didn't think his child's tantrum was a fair reason for me to give up a seat I specifically reserved and paid for. He sighed like I was being unreasonable and tried again. I stood my ground. The girl cried for another 10 minutes before her mom finally distracted her with a tablet. The noise stopped, but the tension didn't. I could feel the parents shooting me looks for the rest of the flight. When we landed, I even overheard the mom muttering something about how some people have no heart. That comment stuck with me.
I started wondering if I'd been too rigid. Kids have big emotions and flying can be stressful. At the same time, I couldn't shake the feeling that giving in would have taught her that screaming long enough gets her whatever she wants. I didn't yell, I wasn't rude, I just said no, but somehow that made me feel like the villain. So now I'm asking myself, was I wrong for keeping my seat? Should I have just switched to avoid the conflict? Or is it okay to have boundaries even when a child is involved? And that's where the story ends. Honestly, I'm still torn about this one. On one hand, boundaries matter, feelings matter. On the other hand, relationships and society in general love to tell us when we're supposed to just let things go. So now I want to hear from you. Was I right to stand my ground here, or did I take things too far? Let me know what you think in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoy stories like this, real situations, real emotions, and no easy answers, make sure to subscribe to Reddit Echoes for more stories like this every day. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.